In a world where likes and shares reign supreme, one woman's act of kindness spirals into a shocking public humiliation that threatens to destroy her carefully curated life. But as Olivia Carter's perfectly filtered world crumbles around her, she stumbles upon a dark truth that will shake the very foundations of our digital society. Prepare for a heart-pounding journey through the looking glass of social media, where nothing is as it seems, and the quest for authenticity comes at a price higher than anyone could have imagined. Will Olivia find the courage to expose the lies that bind us all, or will she become another casualty in the war for our attention? The Los Angeles sun beat down mercilessly on Rodeo Drive as Olivia Matthews, 28, adjusted her Gucci sunglasses and flashed $1 million smile at her phone camera. "Hey guys, it's your girl Liv, back with another haul video. You won't believe the deals I scored today." Olivia's perfectly manicured finger hovered over the post button, but she hesitated. The comments from her last video flashed through her mind. Ugh, another rich girl showing off? Must be nice to be so privileged. How about using your platform for something that actually matters? With a sigh, Olivia lowered her phone. She'd built her brand on showcasing a life of luxury, but lately, the backlash had been growing. Her 2.5 million followers across various platforms were demanding more authenticity, whatever that meant in the carefully curated world of social media. Olivia's phone buzzed. It was a message from her manager, Trent. "Engagement's down 15% this month. We need to shake things up. Any ideas?" Olivia bit her lip, her mind racing. She needed something dramatic, something that would show her followers she wasn't just another vapid influencer. As she walked past a homeless man huddled in a doorway, an idea began to form. What if she could combine her lifestyle content with something more meaningful? Later that evening, Olivia paced her penthouse apartment, pitching her idea to Trent via video call. "Picture this," she said, gesturing dramatically. "We find a homeless person, right? I cook them a gourmet meal, we're talking fancy stuff like Michelin star level. Then I serve it to them on camera. It's perfect. It shows I care about giving back, and it'll make for amazing content." Trent stroked his chin thoughtfully. "It's risky, Liv. What if it comes across as exploitative?" Olivia waved her hand dismissively. "We'll make sure it's super respectful. I'll even let them keep the fancy dishes or something. Trust me, people will eat this up." After some back and forth, Trent reluctantly agreed. The next morning, Olivia and her small production team hit the streets of downtown LA, searching for the perfect subject for their video. Remember, Olivia instructed her camera operator, Jake, and her assistant, Mia. "We want someone who looks, authentically homeless, but not too scary or anything." They wandered for hours, Olivia growing increasingly frustrated as they struggled to find someone who fit her vision. Just as she was about to call it quits, she spotted him, a middle-aged man with a weathered face and kind eyes, sitting on a bench in a small park. "That's him," Olivia whispered excitedly. "He's perfect." As they approached, the man looked up warily. His clothes were worn but relatively clean, and a small backpack sat beside him. "Hi there," Olivia said brightly, flashing her megawatt smile. "I'm Olivia. What's your name?" The man hesitated before answering. "Frank," he said quietly. "It's so nice to meet you." "Frank?" Olivia gushed, her voice dripping with sweetness. "Listen, I have an amazing opportunity for you. How would you like a delicious, home-cooked meal?" Frank's eyes narrowed slightly. "What's the catch?" Olivia laughed, a practiced, tinkling sound. "No catch. I just want to do something nice. I'm going to cook you a gourmet meal and bring it right here to the park. All I ask is that I can film it for my social media. It'll be great exposure for, your situation." She glanced at Jake, making sure he was capturing this moment of apparent generosity. Frank seemed to consider for a moment, then shrugged. "I guess I could eat," he said. Olivia clapped her hands together. "Wonderful. I'll be back tomorrow afternoon with your feast. You won't believe what I'm going to make." As they walked away, Olivia was already planning her next video. Okay, we'll do a cooking montage in my kitchen, Mia. Make sure we have all the fanciest ingredients. Then we'll get some great reaction shots when Frank tastes the food. This is going to be epic. That night, Olivia tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Something about Frank's eyes haunted her. There had been a flicker of something. Intelligence? Suspicion? She pushed the thought away. This video was going to redefine her brand, maybe even launch her into mainstream celebrity status. Nothing could go wrong. The next day, Olivia spent hours in her gleaming kitchen, preparing a meal that looked like it belonged in a five-star restaurant. She carefully plated coq au vin with truffle-infused mashed potatoes and honey-glazed baby carrots on her finest china. "This is going to blow his mind," Olivia said to the camera as she wrapped everything carefully for transport. "I bet Frank's never tasted anything like this in his life." As they drove back to the park, Olivia rehearsed what she would say to Frank, planning every gesture and facial expression for maximum impact on camera. They arrived at the park, and Olivia's heart raced with anticipation. This was it, the moment that would transform her from just another Instagram model into a socially conscious influencer. Frank was still there, sitting on the same bench. As Olivia approached, balancing the elaborate meal, she called out cheerfully, "Frank, I'm back, just like I promised. Wait until you see what I've made for you." She set the food down on the bench beside him with a flourish, making sure to angle herself perfectly for the camera. "Tada!" Olivia exclaimed, beaming at Frank. "A gourmet meal just for you. I can't wait for you to try it." Frank looked at the elaborate spread, then back at Olivia and the camera. For a moment, there was silence. Then, to Olivia's shock and horror, Frank's expression hardened. "What is this, really?" he asked, his voice suddenly sharp and clear. "Some kind of publicity stunt?" Olivia's smile faltered. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. I just wanted to do something nice for you," she stammered. Frank stood up, his eyes flashing with anger. "Nice? You call this nice? Parading me around like some circus animal for your followers?" Olivia felt her carefully constructed world beginning to crumble. As Frank continued his unexpected tirade, she realized with growing dread that this video was about to go viral, but for all the wrong reasons. Olivia frozen in shock, the camera still rolling, as her plan spectacularly backfires in ways she never could have imagined. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the park as Olivia stood frozen, her perfectly rehearsed smile crumbling in the face of Frank's unexpected outburst. The park, once peaceful, now buzzed with the energy of onlookers drawn to the unfolding drama. I don't understand," Olivia stammered, her eyes darting nervously between Frank and the camera. "I just wanted to help." Frank's eyes, which had seemed so gentle yesterday, now blazed with a righteous fury. "Help? You call this help?" He gestured at the elaborate meal laid out on fine china, looking absurdly out of place on the weathered park bench. "This isn't about helping anyone but yourself." Olivia felt her cheeks burning as she noticed more and more people stopping to watch. Some had already pulled out their phones, no doubt capturing every moment of her humiliation. "Please," she said in a low voice, trying to salvage the situation. "Let's just talk about this calmly. The food will get cold." Frank let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, we wouldn't want your gourmet meal to go to waste, would we? Heaven forbid your followers miss out on seeing a real-life homeless person enjoying your charity." By now, a sizable crowd had gathered. Olivia could hear murmurs and whispers, punctuated by the distinctive sound of social media notifications. This was going viral, but not in the way she had planned. "You don't understand," Frank continued, his voice rising. "People like you come down here with your cameras and your fancy food, thinking you can make yourselves feel better by throwing us a bone. But have you ever stopped to ask what we really need?" Olivia opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. She had never felt so exposed, so vulnerable. Her carefully curated image was unraveling in real time, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. "Did you even bother to ask if I have any food allergies?" Frank demanded. "Or if I have dietary restrictions? Did you consider that maybe, just maybe, what I really need isn't a fancy French dish, but help finding a job or affordable housing? Each question hit Olivia like a physical blow. She had been so focused on creating the perfect viral moment that she hadn't considered any of these things. From the crowd, a voice called out, "He's right. This is exploitation." Another chimed in, "Shame on you, using homeless people for clicks." Olivia's assistant, Mia, stepped forward, trying to defuse the situation. "Okay, everyone, let's just calm down. This is all a misunderstanding." But Frank wasn't finished. He turned to address the gathered crowd directly. "This is what's wrong with social media today. Everything's a performance. Everything's about likes and shares. Real problems get reduced to hashtags and viral videos, but nothing actually changes." The crowd was growing larger and more vocal. Olivia could see people live streaming the confrontation, their comments scrolling by too fast to read. This was a disaster beyond her worst nightmares. In a desperate attempt to regain control, Olivia tried one last time to appeal to Frank. "I'm sorry if I offended you," she said, her voice shaking. "That wasn't my intention at all. Please, can we start over? Maybe we can work together to do something meaningful." But her words were drowned out by the crowd's reaction. Someone shouted, "Too late for that. We see right through you." Frank shook his head, a mix of anger and pity in his eyes. "You still don't get it, do you? This isn't about you and me working together. This is about the systemic issues that keep people on the streets, issues that your little stunt does nothing to address." As if to punctuate his point, Frank picked up the plate of now-cold cocoa vin and held it high. The crowd fell silent, anticipating what would come next. "You want a viral moment?" Frank asked, his voice calm but filled with purpose. "Here's your viral moment." With that, he tipped the plate, letting the expensive meal fall to the ground with a splat. The fine china followed, shattering on the concrete path. The crowd erupted in a mix of cheers and gasps. The sound of camera shutters and smartphone notifications reached a fever pitch. Olivia stood there, tears welling in her eyes, as her grand plan lay in ruins at her feet, literally and figuratively. She could already imagine the headlines: "Influencer's charity stunt backfires spectacularly," or "Homeless man schools social media star on real issues." Jake, her cameraman, leaned in close. "Liv," he whispered urgently. "We need to get out of here, now." But Olivia's feet felt like lead. She watched in stunned silence as Frank addressed the crowd one last time. "If you really want to help," he said, "educate yourselves, volunteer at shelters, support organizations that address the root causes of homelessness. But don't use us as props for your social media content." With that, Frank picked up his small backpack and walked away, leaving Olivia to face the crowd alone. The jeers and criticism grew louder. Someone threw an empty soda can that narrowly missed Olivia's head. It was clear the situation was escalating dangerously. Finally snapping out of her daze, Olivia turned and ran, tears streaming down her face. Mia and Jake hurried after her, trying to shield her from the crowd and the relentless cameras. As they reached the car, Olivia's phone was already blowing up with notifications. The video was spreading like wildfire across every social media platform. Her mentions were flooded with angry comments, unfollows, and calls for her cancellation. Slumped in the back seat as Jake sped away from the scene, Olivia realized with a sinking feeling that her life would never be the same after this. Her carefully constructed image had been shattered in a matter of minutes, and she had no idea how or if she could ever recover. The incessant buzz of Olivia's phone filled her dimly lit bedroom, each notification a painful reminder of her spectacular fall from grace. It had been 3 days since the disastrous encounter with Frank in the park, and the fallout showed no signs of slowing down. Olivia lay curled up in her king-size bed, surrounded by crumpled tissues and half-eaten containers of takeout. The curtains were drawn tight, shutting out the relentless Los Angeles sun. In the semi-darkness, the glow of her phone screen illuminated her tear-stained face as she scrolled through the wreckage of her online life. Influencer Olivia Matthews exposed the ugly truth behind her charity stunt. From glam to sham, how Olivia Matthews' career imploded in 5 minutes. 10 lessons we can learn from the Olivia Matthews PR disaster. The headlines seemed endless, each one a fresh wound to her already battered psyche. But it was the comments that truly cut deep. "I always knew she was fake. Good riddance. How dare she use homeless people as props? She's disgusting. Unfollow and report her account. Let's end her career for good." A notification popped up from her manager, Trent. It was the 7th missed call today. Olivia swiped it away, unable to face even the thought of damage control. Her phone buzzed again, this time an email. With trembling fingers, she opened it, her heart sinking as she read, "Dear Ms. Matthews, in light of recent events, we regret to inform you that Lux Beauty has decided to terminate our partnership, effective immediately. We pride ourselves on maintaining the highest ethical standards, and your recent actions do not align with our brand values. Please cease all use of our products in your content and remove any mention of Lux Beauty from your social media profiles. Sincerely, Lux Beauty PR team." Olivia let out a choked sob. Lux Beauty had been her biggest sponsor, the cornerstone of her influencer empire. As she scrolled through her inbox, she saw similar messages from other brands, all dropping her, all distancing themselves from the PR nightmare she'd become. Her follower count, once a source of pride, was now in free fall. 2 million, 1.5 million. The numbers dwindled by the hour. Each lost follower felt like a personal rejection, a stark repudiation of everything she'd built over the years. A text from her best friend, Zoe, lit up the screen. "Girl, are you okay? I'm worried about you. Call me." Olivia's finger hovered over the call button, but she couldn't bring herself to tap it. How could she explain this to anyone? How could she admit that her entire career, her very identity, had been built on such a fragile foundation? As the day wore on, Olivia's isolation deepened. She ignored calls from her parents, her friends, even her therapist. The thought of facing anyone, of trying to explain or defend herself, was overwhelming. In a moment of desperation, she opened Instagram, thinking perhaps she could post an apology, try to salvage something from this disaster. But as soon as she saw her feed, still filled with glossy, perfectly curated images of her perfect life, a wave of nausea washed over her. It all seemed so hollow now, so glaringly artificial. Instead, she found herself watching the video of her confrontation with Frank for what felt like the 100th time. She scrutinized every moment, every expression, trying to understand how it had all gone so terribly wrong. "I just wanted to help," she whispered to herself, the words sounding weak even to her own ears. As night fell, Olivia's anxiety spiraled. The walls of her luxurious apartment, once a showcase of her success, now felt like a prison. Every designer item, every piece of expensive furniture, seemed to mock her, reminders of a life that was slipping away. Sleep eluded her, her mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Would she ever be able to show her face in public again? Was her career over for good? How would she pay for this apartment, maintain this lifestyle without her sponsorships and brand deals? In the darkest hours of the night, as Olivia tossed and turned, grappling with the enormity of her downfall, her phone lit up with a notification. Different from the torrent of negative comments and messages, this one caught her eye. "You don't know the whole story. There's more going on here than you realize. If you want the truth, meet me at Café Noir tomorrow at 2 p.m. Come alone." The message was from an anonymous account, the profile picture a blank silhouette. Olivia stared at it, a mix of fear and curiosity stirring in her chest. Who could this be? Frank? Someone who knew him? Or was it just another trap, another opportunity for public humiliation? As the first light of dawn began to seep through her curtains, Olivia made a decision. She was tired of hiding, tired of being a victim of circumstances she didn't fully understand. Whatever this message meant, whatever risk it posed, it was a lifeline, possibly her last chance to uncover the truth and reclaim some control over her narrative. With shaking hands, She typed out a reply, "I'll be there." As she hit send, Olivia felt a glimmer of something she hadn't experienced in days. Hope, whether it was justified or just another misstep in a series of cascading failures, remained to be seen. But for now, it was enough to get her out of bed, to face another day in a world that had so suddenly and cruelly turned against her. The next day, as the clock inched towards 2 p.m., Olivia found herself sitting in a corner booth at Café Noir, her hands wrapped tightly around a rapidly cooling latte. Dark sunglasses and a low-brimmed hat obscured her face, a futile attempt at anonymity in a city where her humiliation had become inescapable. Every chime of the cafe door sent a jolt of anxiety through her body. Who was she meeting? What more could possibly be revealed that would change the narrative of her spectacular downfall? At precisely 2 p.m., the door chimed once more. Olivia's breath caught in her throat as she saw a familiar figure enter Frank, the homeless man who had been the catalyst for her current predicament. But something was different. Gone were the weathered clothes and unkempt appearance. Instead, Frank walked in wearing a crisp button-down shirt and tailored slacks, his salt and pepper hair neatly combed. Frank's eyes scanned the cafe, landing on Olivia. With purposeful strides, he approached her table. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his voice lacking the harsh edge it had carried in the park. Olivia nodded mutely, her mind reeling. As Frank sat down, she blurted out, "You're not really homeless, are you?" A sad smile played at the corners of Frank's mouth. "No, I'm not. My name isn't even Frank. It's Daniel. Daniel Reeves." Olivia's head spun. "I don't understand. Why would you?" Daniel held up a hand, signaling for patience. "I know you have questions. I'm here to answer them. But first, I need to know, are you willing to listen? Really listen? Because what I'm about to tell you goes far beyond just you and me." Olivia hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "I'm listening." Daniel took a deep breath. "I used to be a data engineer at Tech Giant, one of the largest social media companies in the world. I was part of a team working on content algorithms. You know, the ones that decide what shows up on people's feeds, what goes viral, what gets buried." Olivia leaned in, her curiosity piqued despite her lingering anger and confusion. "The deeper I got into the project," Daniel continued, "the more I realized how much power these algorithms had. They weren't just showing people content. They were shaping opinions, influencing behaviors, even affecting elections. But what does this have to do with me?" Olivia interjected. Daniel's eyes met hers, his gaze intense. "Everything. You see, influencers like you're not just products of this system. You're tools of it. Your content, your image, your entire online persona. It's all carefully crafted and promoted to keep people engaged, to keep them scrolling, to keep them generating data and ad revenue." Olivia felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you saying my success wasn't real?" "It was real in the sense that you have genuine followers who care about your content," Daniel explained. "But the scale of your influence, the speed of your rise to fame, that was engineered. The system identified you as a valuable asset and boosted your content accordingly." Olivia's mind raced, trying to process this information. "But the video of us in the park, that went viral organically, right? Because people were angry at me?" Daniel shook his head. "That's what I thought would happen. But when I checked the data, yes, I still have some access. I noticed something strange. The video's spread wasn't natural. It was being amplified, pushed to specific demographics, fueling the outrage." "But why?" Olivia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Control," Daniel said simply. "By orchestrating your rise and fall, they demonstrate their power. They remind everyone, influencers, brands, users, that they control the narrative. Plus, the controversy generates massive engagement, which means more data, more ad views, more profit." Olivia sat back, stunned. Her entire world had been turned upside down, and now she was learning that even that upheaval wasn't entirely genuine. "So what do we do?" she asked, surprising herself with the we. Daniel leaned forward, his voice low and urgent. "We expose it. All of it. The algorithms, the manipulation, the way they're playing with people's lives and society itself. But it won't be easy. These companies have immense power and resources. They'll fight back hard. Olivia felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. The influencer in her recognized a story, a comeback narrative. But the human being in her, the part that had been humbled and hurt by recent events, recognized something more, a chance to do something truly meaningful. "I'm in," she said, her voice stronger than it had been in days. "But how do we even start?" Daniel pulled out a laptop from his bag. "I've been gathering data, documenting everything I can. But I need someone who understands the influencer side of things. Someone who can help translate this technical information into something the public can understand and care about." As Daniel opened his laptop, revealing charts, graphs, and lines of code, Olivia felt a sense of purpose wash over her. This was bigger than her career, bigger than likes and followers. This was about truth, about pulling back the curtain on a system that affected millions. "Okay," Olivia said, taking off her sunglasses and hat. "Let's do this. Where do we begin?" As they bent over the laptop, diving into the data, neither Olivia nor Daniel noticed the man at the next table. His phone discreetly angled towards them, a recording app quietly running. The soft glow of computer screens illuminated Olivia's living room, casting long shadows across the walls. It had been 2 weeks since her meeting with Daniel at Café Noir, and her penthouse apartment had transformed into a makeshift command center for their investigation. Olivia sat cross-legged on her plush white couch, her perfectly manicured nails now chipped and her designer clothes replaced by comfortable sweats. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes betraying long nights of intense research and data analysis. Across from her, Daniel hunched over his laptop, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he sifted through lines of code and data streams. Empty coffee cups and takeout containers littered the glass coffee table between them, testament to their single-minded focus. "Olivia, look at this," Daniel said, turning his laptop towards her. On the screen, a complex web of interconnected nodes pulsed and shifted. This is a visual representation of how information spreads across social media platforms. See these larger nodes? They're not individual users or even influencers like you were. They're bot networks, amplifying specific messages and drowning out others. Olivia leaned in, her eyes widening as she began to grasp the scale of what they were uncovering. So it's not just about promoting certain content? They're actively suppressing other voices. Daniel nodded grimly. "Exactly, and it goes even deeper than that. Watch this." He pulled up another screen, this one showing a series of seemingly unrelated trending topics from the past year. With a few keystrokes, Daniel overlaid a timeline of stock market fluctuations and political events. "See the pattern?" he asked. Olivia gasped softly as the correlations became clear. "They're manufacturing trends to influence real-world events?" "Bingo," Daniel confirmed. "Stock prices, election outcomes, public opinion on key issues. It's all being subtly manipulated through these algorithms and bot networks." As the magnitude of their discovery sank in, Olivia felt a mix of horror and determination. "We have to stop this," she said, her voice firm. "But how? Who's behind it all?" Daniel ran a hand through his disheveled hair. "That's the tricky part. It's not just one company or group. We're looking at a network of tech giants, marketing firms, and even some political entities. They're all benefiting from this system in different ways." Olivia stood up and began pacing, her mind racing. "Okay, so we need to gather concrete evidence, something that can't be denied or swept under the rug. What about the code itself? Can we get access to the algorithms?" Daniel shook his head. "Not directly. They're too well protected. But..." He trailed off, a glint of excitement in his eyes. "What if we could create a honeypot, set up a fake influencer account, game the system ourselves, and document every step?" Olivia stopped pacing, a slow smile spreading across her face. That could work. I know all the tricks influencers use to grow their accounts. If we combine that with your insider knowledge of the algorithms..." We could force the system to reveal itself, Daniel finished, already turning back to his laptop. We'd need to be careful, though. Set up ironclad VPNs, use burner phones, the works. If they catch wind of what we're doing, they'll shut us down in a heartbeat. As they dove into planning their sting operation, neither Olivia nor Daniel noticed the small, blinking light on Olivia's smart home device in the corner of the room. Miles away, in a darkened office, a figure listened intently to their conversation, a frown deepening on their face. Days turned into weeks as Olivia and Daniel worked tirelessly on their plan. They created Zoe Spencer, a fictitious aspiring influencer with a carefully crafted backstory and a curated feed of stock photos and AI-generated content. Using Daniel's knowledge of the algorithms and Olivia's influencer techniques, they began to grow Zoe's account at an exponential rate. "It's working," Olivia breathed one evening, staring at Zoe's rapidly increasing follower count. "It's almost too easy." Daniel nodded, his expression a mix of satisfaction and concern. "That's because we know exactly which buttons to push. But look at this." He pulled up a diagnostic tool he had created. "See these spikes? That's not organic growth. The system is amplifying Zoe far beyond what our actions alone could achieve." Olivia leaned in, her brow furrowed. "But why? What makes Zoe so special to the algorithm?" "It's not just about Zoe," Daniel explained. "Look at the content we're pushing, subtle nods to certain products, specific political leanings cleverly disguised as neutral statements. The system is recognizing Zoe as a potential influential voice and boosting her accordingly." As they dug deeper, the full extent of the manipulation became clear. It wasn't just about selling products or gaining followers. The algorithms were shaping narratives, influencing opinions on everything from consumer choices to political ideologies, all under the guise of organic content and trends. "This is bigger than we thought," Olivia said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's not just about social media anymore. This is about controlling how people think, what they believe." Daniel nodded solemnly. "And the scariest part? Most people have no idea it's happening. They think they're making free choices, forming their own opinions, when in reality, they're being subtly nudged in specific directions," Olivia finished, a chill running down her spine. As the night wore on, Olivia and Daniel compiled their findings. Charts, graphs, code snippets, and documented examples of manipulated trends and their real-world impacts. It was damning evidence, a digital smoking gun that could shake the foundations of social media empires and beyond. "We need to secure this information," Daniel said, his voice tense. "Multiple backups, encrypted, stored in different locations. Once we release this, all hell is going to break loose." Olivia nodded, her heart racing with a mix of fear and exhilaration. "How do we release it? We need to make sure it reaches as many people as possible before they can shut it down." Daniel thought for a moment, then a slow smile spread across his face. "We use their own system against them. We'll create a viral campaign so compelling that even their algorithms won't be able to resist spreading it. And once it's out there, it'll be too late for them to stop it," Olivia finished, a fierce determination in her eyes. As they began to plan their revelation to the world, a notification popped up on Daniel's laptop. His eyes widened in alarm. "Olivia," he said, his voice tight. "Someone's trying to breach our security. They're good. Really good." Olivia felt her heart drop. "Can you stop them?" Daniel's fingers flew across the keyboard, his face illuminated by the glow of the screen. "I'm trying, but..." "Oh no. What is it?" Olivia asked, panic rising in her throat. Daniel looked up, his face pale. "They're not just after our data. They're tracking our location. Olivia, we need to move. Now." The first rays of dawn were breaking over the Los Angeles skyline as Olivia and Daniel hurried out of her penthouse apartment. With backpacks filled with laptops, hard drives, and a handful of necessities, they looked more like college students pulling an all-nighter than a former influencer and a tech whistleblower on the run. "Where do we go?" Olivia whispered, her eyes darting nervously as they entered the parking garage. Daniel's face was grim as he replied, somewhere they won't expect. We can't use credit cards, our phones, anything that can be traced. From now on, we're ghosts. As they drove out of the city in a nondescript rental car, paid for with cash, Olivia felt a pang of loss. She watched the familiar landmarks of her glamorous LA life fade in the rearview mirror, replaced by the uncertainty of their new reality. Hours later, holed up in a small motel off the highway, Olivia and Daniel hunched over their laptops, trying to assess the damage and plan their next move. "They've locked me out of all my accounts," Daniel muttered, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "They're good, but I'm better. I've got backups of everything." Olivia nodded, her own screen filled with a cascade of notifications. "My social media is blowing up. Look at this." She turned her laptop to show Daniel. Her feeds were flooded with messages, a mix of concern from fans and vicious attacks from trolls. "Where are you, Olivia? We're worried. Running away, huh? Guilty conscience. I bet she's just doing this for attention. Pathetic." But it was a news headline that caught their attention. Influencer Olivia Matthews and unknown male flee LA. Sources suggest involvement in cybercrime. "They're trying to discredit us before we can even speak out," Daniel said, his voice tight with anger. Olivia felt a wave of panic. "My family, my friends. They'll think I'm a criminal. Maybe we should just come forward now. Tell our side of the story." Daniel shook his head firmly. "We can't, not yet. Without hard evidence, it's our word against theirs. And right now, they control the narrative." As if to underscore his point, Olivia's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "We know what you're trying to do. Stop now, and maybe we can work something out. Keep pushing, and we'll destroy everything and everyone you care about." Olivia's hand shook as she showed the message to Daniel. "They're threatening my loved ones now. What have I gotten myself into?" Daniel's face softened with sympathy. "I'm so sorry, Olivia. I never meant for you to be caught up in this. If you want out, I understand. This isn't your fight." Olivia was quiet for a long moment, staring at the threatening message. When she looked up, there was a steely determination in her eyes. "No, it is my fight. They used me, used all of us influencers to manipulate people. I can't walk away now." Over the next few days, Olivia and Daniel moved from town to town, always looking over their shoulders, always one step ahead of their pursuers. They used public libraries and internet cafes to continue their investigation, careful never to stay in one place too long. But the toll of life on the run was beginning to show. Olivia's normally perfectly styled hair was limp and unwashed, her designer clothes replaced by generic thrift store finds. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, a testament to sleepless nights spent programming and planning. One evening, as they sat in a 24-hour diner, picking at greasy food, Olivia's resolve wavered. "Daniel, what if we can't win this? What if we release everything we know and people just don't care? What if they're too addicted to their social media, too set in their ways to change?" Daniel reached across the table, squeezing her hand reassuringly. "Then at least we tried. At least we gave people the choice to see the truth. That's all we can do." As they left the diner, neither noticed the man in the booth behind them, speaking quietly into his phone. "I've got eyes on the targets. Moving to intercept." Back in their latest motel room, Olivia and Daniel were startled by a knock at the door. They froze, exchanging panicked glances. The knock came again, more insistent this time. "Ms. Matthews? Mr. Reeves? This is Agent Carter with the FBI. We need to talk." Olivia's heart raced. "The FBI? Daniel, what do we do?" Daniel was already shoving their equipment into backpacks. "We run. Now, there's a fire escape outside the bathroom window." As they clambered down the rickety metal stairs, Olivia could hear the sound of the motel room door being broken down. They sprinted across the parking lot, diving into their car just as flashlight beams cut through the darkness. Tires screeching, they peeled out onto the highway. In the rearview mirror, Olivia could see several black SUVs in pursuit. "Were those really FBI?" Olivia gasped, her knuckles white as she gripped the dashboard. Daniel's face was grim as he navigated the twisting road. "Maybe. Or maybe it's someone else using their authority. Either way, we can't trust anyone right now. As they sped through the night, Olivia's mind raced. How had her life come to this? Just weeks ago, her biggest worry had been maintaining her follower count and landing the next big sponsorship deal. Now, she was a fugitive, running from forces she barely understood, carrying secrets that could reshape the digital world. "Daniel," she said suddenly, an idea forming. "What if we use my influence for good? I still have millions of followers. If we can reach them, tell them the truth." Daniel's eyes lit up. "That's it. We fight fire with fire. Use their own system against them just like we planned. But we'll need to be smart about it. One wrong move, and they'll shut us down for good." As the sun began to rise, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, Olivia felt a renewed sense of purpose. Yes, she was afraid. Yes, the road ahead was uncertain and fraught with danger. But for the first time in her life, she felt like she was fighting for something truly important. "Okay," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Let's do this. Let's change the world." The sun was setting over a small coastal town as Olivia and Daniel sat in their parked car, the ocean breeze carrying the salt air through the open windows. They had managed to lose their pursuers, at least for now, but both knew it was only a matter of time before they were found again. Olivia stared at her phone, her thumb hovering over the Instagram icon. "I still have access to my account," she said, her voice a mix of hope and uncertainty. "We could post the truth right now, reach millions of people instantly." Daniel shook his head, his expression grave. "It's not that simple, Olivia. We need to think this through carefully. What we're about to do, it could change everything." They made their way to a small beachside motel, paying cash for a room with a view of the ocean. As the waves crashed rhythmically against the shore, Olivia and Daniel sat at a weathered wooden table, their laptops open, surrounded by notebooks filled with hastily scribbled plans and data. "Okay," Daniel said, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "Let's break this down. What are the potential consequences of exposing everything we know?" Olivia bit her lip, considering. Well, on the positive side, people would finally know the truth. They'd understand how they're being manipulated, how their data is being used against them. Could lead to real change in how social media operates. Daniel nodded. "True. But on the flip side, think about the panic it could cause. People rely on these platforms for communication, for business, for staying connected with loved ones. If they suddenly can't trust any of it, it could cause chaos," Olivia finished, her voice soft. "Economic disruption, social unrest, maybe even violence if people feel they've been betrayed by the systems they trusted." They fell into a contemplative silence, the weight of their decision heavy in the air. Olivia stood up, walking to the window and gazing out at the moonlit ocean. "There's something else we need to consider," she said, turning back to Daniel. "My own role in all of this. I was part of the system, Daniel. I benefited from it. I influenced people, pushed products, created trends, all without realizing I was just a cog in their machine." Daniel's eyes softened with understanding. "You can't blame yourself for that, Olivia. You didn't know." "But I should have," Olivia insisted, her voice cracking slightly. "I was so caught up in the likes, the followers, the sponsorships, I never stopped to question it. And now, if we expose this, I'll be exposing my own complicity. Everything I built, my entire career, it will all come crashing down." Daniel stood up, placing a comforting hand on Olivia's shoulder. "Maybe that's not such a bad thing. Think of it as a chance to rebuild, to use your influence for something that really matters." Olivia nodded slowly, a small smile forming on her lips. "You're right. It's time I took responsibility, used my platform for more than just selling a lifestyle." As the night wore on, Olivia and Daniel debated the best way to present their findings. They knew they had to strike a delicate balance, revealing enough to make people take notice, but not so much that it would overwhelm or alienate their audience. "We need to make it personal," Olivia said, pacing the small room. "People relate to stories, to faces. We can't just dump a bunch of data and expect everyone to understand." Daniel nodded, typing furiously on his laptop. What if we create a video? Something that explains the technical aspects in simple terms, but also shows the real-world impact of these manipulations. Olivia's eyes lit up. Yes, we could use examples from my own experience as an influencer, show how the algorithm boosted certain posts, suppressed others. And we could include some of the data visualizations you created. Those charts showing the correlation between trending topics and real-world events were pretty mind-blowing. As they worked through the night, crafting their message and gathering their evidence, a new dilemma emerged. Olivia, Daniel said, his voice serious, we need to talk about what happens after we release this. The backlash won't just be digital. These companies, the people behind them, they have real power, real resources. They could come after us legally, maybe even... Well, let's just say we need to be prepared for anything. Olivia felt a chill run down her spine, but she squared her shoulders resolutely. I know the risks, Daniel, but we've come too far to back down now. Whatever happens, we face it together. As the first light of dawn began to streak across the sky, Olivia and Daniel put the finishing touches on their video. It was a powerful blend of personal testimony, hard data, and compelling visuals, all designed to wake people up to the hidden forces shaping their online experiences. This is it, Olivia said, her finger hovering over the upload button. Once we do this, there's no going back. Are we sure we're ready? Daniel took a deep breath, then nodded. As ready as we'll ever be. It's time to let the world know the truth. Just as Olivia was about to click upload, a breaking news alert flashed across her phone screen. Her eyes widened in shock as she read the headline aloud. Major social media outage affects millions worldwide. Daniel quickly pulled up several news sites, all reporting the same thing: a massive, unprecedented shutdown of multiple social media platforms. This can't be a coincidence, he muttered, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he tried to gather more information. Olivia felt a mix of panic and determination. They must know we're about to expose them. They're trying to shut down communication channels. Daniel looked up from his screen, his face pale. It's worse than that, Olivia. Look at this. He turned his laptop towards her, showing a flood of conspiracy theories and misinformation already spreading across alternative platforms and messaging apps. They're controlling the narrative, Olivia gasped. If we don't act fast, people will believe whatever explanation these companies give for the outage. Daniel nodded grimly. This is it, Olivia. The moment of truth. Do we release our video now, adding more chaos to an already volatile situation? Or do we wait, potentially losing our chance to be heard? Olivia stared at the upload button, the weight of their decision pressing down on her. In that moment, she realized that this was about more than just exposing the truth. It was about shaping the future of digital communication and possibly society itself. We have to do it, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. People deserve to know the truth, especially now. Whatever happens next, at least we'll know we did the right thing. With a deep breath, Olivia clicked upload. The video began to process, loading bar slowly filling as their message prepared to go out to the world. The dim glow of computer screens illuminated Olivia and Daniel's determined faces as they huddled in a cramped, makeshift studio. The air was thick with tension and the faint hum of equipment. They had been working tirelessly for days, fueled by a mix of caffeine, adrenaline, and an unwavering desire to expose the truth. Are you sure about this, Olivia? Daniel asked, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. Once we hit upload, there's no going back. Olivia took a deep breath, her eyes reflecting a mix of fear and resolve. We've come too far to back down now. The world needs to know what's really going on behind their screens. With a nod, Daniel began the upload process. Their expose video, a masterpiece of investigative journalism and technical prowess, started its journey across the digital landscape. The video opened with a stark warning. What you're about to see will change the way you view social media forever. It then cut to Olivia, looking nothing like her former influencer self. Gone were the designer clothes and picture-perfect makeup. Instead, she appeared raw and authentic, her voice steady as she began to narrate their findings. "My name is Olivia Carter, and I used to be what you'd call an influencer. But today, I'm here to influence you in a way I never have before with the unvarnished truth." The exposé meticulously laid out the intricate web of manipulation they had uncovered. It showed how armies of bots were deployed to amplify certain messages while suppressing others. Graphs and animations illustrated the artificial inflation of trends and the manufacturing of viral content. Daniel's technical expertise shone through as he explained the complex algorithms designed to keep users engaged at any cost, often at the expense of their mental health and the truth. "These systems aren't designed to inform or connect us," he explained. "They're designed to addict us, to keep us scrolling, liking, and sharing, even if what we're sharing isn't real." The video didn't pull any punches. It named names, showing connections between tech giants, marketing agencies, and political figures. Evidence of clandestine meetings and damning emails flashed across the screen, leaving little doubt about the deliberate nature of the manipulation. As they had anticipated, attempts to censor the video began almost immediately. But Olivia and Daniel were prepared. They had set up a complex network of mirrored sites and peer-to-peer sharing systems. Every time the video was taken down in one place, it popped up in 10 others. "It's like whack-a-mole," Daniel murmured, his eyes glued to the screen as he monitored the video's spread. "But we're the moles, and we're popping up faster than they can whack us." Olivia watched in awe as the view count climbed exponentially. Notifications flooded in from various platforms. Shares, comments, and reactions pouring in at a dizzying rate. This time, the virality was organic, driven by genuine shock and outrage. As the hours ticked by, major news outlets began to pick up the story. Hashtags related to their revelations started trending worldwide. Olivia's phone buzzed incessantly with messages from former colleagues in the influencer world, some expressing disbelief, others offering support, and a few hurling accusations of betrayal. "We're trending on every platform," Daniel announced, a mix of excitement and apprehension in his voice. "It's working, Olivia. People are listening." But with the spread of truth came the inevitable backlash. Warnings of lawsuits began to flood their inboxes. Tweets from tech company CEOs denounced the video as fake news and a dangerous conspiracy theory. Online armies of trolls and bots were mobilized to discredit Olivia and Daniel, attacking their characters and questioning their motives. "They're trying to drown us out," Olivia observed, scrolling through the torrent of negative comments. "But look, for every attack, there are dozens of people defending us, sharing their own experiences of manipulation." As the digital storm raged, Olivia and Daniel realized they couldn't stay in one place for long. They had anticipated this, having prepared go bags and a series of safe houses. "We need to move," Daniel said, already packing up their equipment. "It won't take them long to trace the upload location." Just as they were about to leave, Olivia's phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Ms. Carter," a deep voice said, "I represent a group of individuals who are very interested in what you've uncovered. We'd like to offer our protection and resources to help you continue your work." Olivia exchanged a look with Daniel, uncertainty written across both their faces. Could this be a trap or a genuine ally? "Who are you?" Olivia asked cautiously. "Let's just say we're friends in high places who believe in what you're doing. We can meet at a secure location of your choosing to discuss further." As Olivia ended the call, she and Daniel faced a new dilemma. Should they trust this mysterious offer of help, or were they better off on their own? "What do you think?" Olivia asked Daniel, her voice tinged with exhaustion and uncertainty. Daniel shook his head, equally conflicted. "I don't know, but whatever we decide, we need to get moving. Now." They grabbed their bags and slipped out into the night, leaving behind the makeshift studio where they had ignited a digital revolution. As they navigated the dark streets, both Olivia and Daniel knew that their lives would never be the same. They had pulled back the curtain on a massive system of manipulation, and now they were in the crosshairs of some of the most powerful entities in the world. The truth was out there, spreading like wildfire across the internet. But as Olivia and Daniel disappeared into the shadows, they wondered, Would the truth be enough to bring about real change? Or had they merely stirred up a hornet's nest that would soon engulf them? As dawn broke over the city, Olivia and Daniel found temporary refuge in a nondescript motel on the outskirts of town. They watched on a small TV as news anchors debated the validity of their claims. Experts weighed in on the implications, and politicians called for investigations. "We did it," Olivia whispered, a mix of pride and fear in her voice. "For better or worse, the world knows the truth now." Daniel nodded solemnly, his eyes fixed on the screen. "Yeah, we did. But something tells me this is just the beginning." As they sat there, fugitives in a world they had just turned upside down, Olivia and Daniel knew that their journey was far from over. The truth was out, but the fight to make it matter had only just begun. The morning sun crept through the dusty motel curtains, casting long shadows across the room where Olivia and Daniel had spent a restless night. Their phones, set to silent, blinked incessantly with notifications. The digital storm they had unleashed showed no signs of abating. "We should check in," Daniel said, reaching for his laptop. "See what we're dealing with." As they scrolled through the avalanche of responses, it became clear that their exposé had split the internet in two. On one side, a groundswell of support from ordinary users, journalists, and even some tech insiders who confirmed parts of their story. On the other, a coordinated and aggressive pushback from the companies and individuals they had exposed. "Look at this," Olivia said, her voice tight. She turned her phone to show Daniel a statement from tech giant's CEO, Mark Hoffman. "The allegations made in yesterday's viral video are not only false but dangerous. They represent a fundamental misunderstanding of how our platforms work and threaten to undermine public trust in digital spaces that billions rely on daily. We are exploring all legal options to address these slanderous claims." Similar denials and threats poured in from other tech companies, marketing agencies, and even politicians implicated in their video. Hashtags like #FakeSposePose and #OliviaLied were trending, pushed by armies of accounts that seemed suspiciously coordinated. "They're trying to control the narrative," Daniel muttered, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he dug deeper into the online response. "But look here, whistleblowers from inside some of these companies are starting to come forward. They're backing us up." Olivia leaned in, her heart racing as she read testimonies from employees confirming the existence of secret algorithms and manipulation tactics. It wasn't just low-level workers either. Some mid-level executives were risking their careers to speak out. As they were processing this flood of information, Olivia's phone rang. The caller ID showed unknown, but she recognized the voice immediately. "Ms. Carter, I hope you're somewhere safe," said the deep voice from the night before. "Things are about to get more complicated. Check your email in 2 minutes." The line went dead before Olivia could respond. She and Daniel exchanged worried glances, then turned to the laptop. 2 minutes later, on the dot, an email arrived from an encrypted address. The subject line read, "An offer you shouldn't refuse." With trepidation, they opened the message. It was from a consortium of tech companies, offering a deal that made their heads spin. In exchange for retracting their claims and framing the entire exposé as a planned awareness campaign about the dangers of misinformation, they were being offered a staggering sum of money and guaranteed immunity from any legal repercussions. "This is insane," Daniel breathed, his eyes wide as he took in the number of zeros in the offered payment. "They're really scared of what we've started." Olivia felt a wave of nausea. "They want us to lie about our lie exposure." The irony would be funny if it weren't so horrifying. As they debated the moral implications of the offer, another email pinged into the inbox. This one was from Samantha Wu, a renowned investigative journalist known for her uncompromising exposés of corporate corruption. "I believe you," Samantha's email began, "and I'm not the only one. I have sources inside 3 of the companies you named who are willing to go on record. We need to talk. Securely." The contrast between the 2 emails couldn't have been starker. On one side, a tempting offer of wealth and security. On the other, a chance to push their revelation further, backed by a respected journalist. "What do we do?" Olivia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Before Daniel could answer, a breaking news alert flashed across the laptop screen. Senator Elizabeth Chamberlain, chair of the Senate Technology Committee, was calling for an emergency hearing on social media manipulation. In light of recent allegations, it is imperative that we get to the bottom of these troubling claims, the senator announced from the steps of the Capitol. I am inviting the CEOs of major tech companies, as well as the individuals behind yesterday's viral video, to testify before Congress. Olivia and Daniel sat in stunned silence, the weight of the moment pressing down on them. What had started as a desperate attempt to reclaim Olivia's reputation had morphed into something far bigger than either of them could have imagined. "We can't take the deal," Daniel said finally, his voice firm. "We've come too far to back down now." Olivia nodded, a mix of fear and determination in her eyes. "Agreed, but we need help. We should reach out to Samantha Wu, see if she can connect us with her sources." As they drafted a response to Samantha, a notification popped up on Daniel's phone. It was from a secure messaging app, one used primarily by tech insiders and privacy advocates. The message was from an anonymous user, but its contents made Daniel's breath catch. "I'm a senior engineer at AlgoBoost," the message read, referring to one of the marketing firms they had exposed. "What you revealed is just the tip of the iceberg. I have proof of direct collusion between tech companies and government agencies to manipulate public opinion on key issues. If you're willing to go deeper, I'm willing to talk." Daniel showed the message to Olivia, whose eyes widened as she read it. "This is getting bigger than us," she said softly. "Are we ready for this?" Before they could discuss further, a loud knock at the door made them both jump. Daniel quickly closed the laptop while Olivia moved towards the door, her heart pounding. "Ms. Carter? Mr. Reeves?" A voice called out. "This is Agent Simmons with the FBI. We need to talk." Olivia and Daniel exchanged panicked looks. Had they been found? Were they about to be arrested? Or was this another potential ally in their quest for truth? With trembling hands, Olivia reached for the door handle. As she began to turn it, she and Daniel knew that whatever lay on the other side would determine the next phase of their journey. The personal stakes were higher than ever, but so too were the implications for society at large. The door swung open, revealing two stern-faced agents in dark suits. Behind them, Olivia could see a black SUV with tinted windows parked in the lot. "Ms. Carter, Mr. Reeves," Agent Simmons said, her voice professional but not unkind. "We need you to come with us. Your safety can no longer be guaranteed here, and there are some people who are very interested in speaking with you." As Olivia and Daniel gathered their belongings, both felt the weight of the choices ahead. They had sparked a national conversation about the nature of truth in the digital age. But the real battle was just beginning. With powerful forces arrayed against them and uncertain allies offering support, they stepped out into the bright morning sun, ready to face whatever came next. The truth was out there, spreading and evolving. Now it was up to them to ensure it wasn't buried again. The harsh fluorescent lights of the Senate hearing room cast a stark glow over the proceedings. Olivia sat at the witness table, her heart pounding but her voice steady as she addressed the panel of stern-faced senators. Beside her, Daniel provided technical explanations, his expertise evident in every precise answer. "And so, senators," Olivia concluded, her eyes sweeping across the chamber, "what we uncovered wasn't just about likes and shares. It was about the very nature of truth in our digital age." The room erupted into a cacophony of voices, journalists shouting questions, spectators murmuring, and politicians trying to get a word in. Senator Chamberlain's gavel came down hard, restoring order. "Thank you, Ms. Carter, Mr. Reeves," the senator said, her expression grave. "Your testimony, along with the evidence provided by Ms. Wu and the whistleblowers, paints a disturbing picture of widespread manipulation." As Olivia and Daniel left the hearing room, they were mobbed by reporters. Flashes popped and questions flew, but they pushed through, guided by their FBI security detail. It had been a grueling few weeks since that morning at the motel, but they had stayed the course, working with Samantha Wu and other allies to build an ironclad case. Months passed, and the ripple effects of their revelations continued to spread. New regulations were drafted and debated in Congress, aimed at increasing transparency in social media algorithms and curbing the spread of misinformation. Tech companies, under intense public pressure, began to implement more robust fact-checking systems and user controls. Olivia found herself in an entirely new world. Gone were the days of promoting luxury products and chasing likes. Instead, she had become a sought-after speaker on digital literacy and online manipulation. One crisp autumn morning, Olivia stood before a crowded auditorium at a high school in downtown Los Angeles. The students' faces were illuminated by the glow of their phones, but their eyes were fixed on her. "I used to think influence was about having the most followers or the most engagement," Olivia said, her voice carrying to the back of the room. "But true influence? That comes from speaking truth to power, from using your voice to make a real difference." She went on to explain the basics of identifying manipulated content, the importance of fact-checking, and the psychology behind viral misinformation. The students hung on her every word, occasionally gasping or murmuring as she revealed some of the more shocking tactics she and Daniel had uncovered. After the talk, a young girl approached Olivia, her eyes wide with admiration. "Ms. Carter, I want to be like you when I grow up. How do I start?" Olivia smiled, touched by the girl's earnestness. "Start by questioning everything you see online. Look for primary sources. And most importantly, use your voice to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard." As Olivia left the school, her phone buzzed with a message from Daniel. He had been busy too, channeling his technical skills into developing tools to help users detect manipulated content and understand how their data was being used. "Check out the beta version," his message read, followed by a link. Olivia downloaded the app, marveling at its intuitive interface. It offered real-time analysis of social media feeds, highlighting potential bot activity, manipulated images, and questionable sources. She felt a surge of pride in her friend's work. That evening, Olivia met Daniel at a small cafe they had come to favor for its lack of Wi-Fi and no-phones policy. It was a place where they could talk freely, away from the digital world they had helped expose. "How'd the school talk go?" Daniel asked as Olivia slid into the booth. "Really well," she replied, a genuine smile lighting up her face. "These kids, Daniel, they're so sharp, so eager to understand. I think we're making a real difference." Daniel nodded, his own expression a mix of satisfaction and lingering concern. "The app's getting good feedback from the test group, but for every step forward we take, the manipulators are evolving too. It's an ongoing battle." Their conversation was interrupted by a breaking news alert on the cafe's old television. Senator Chamberlain was announcing the passage of the Digital Transparency and Accountability Act, a sweeping piece of legislation that incorporated many of the recommendations Olivia and Daniel had made during their testimony. "We did that," Olivia said softly, her eyes fixed on the screen. "We helped make that happen." As they watched the announcement, Olivia's phone buzzed with a notification. It was from her new agent, not a talent agent, but a speaking agent who handled her growing number of engagements. "Olivia, got a unique request," the message read. "A coalition of homeless shelters wants you to do a series of digital literacy workshops for their residents. Lower pay than your usual gigs, but could be impactful. Interested?" Olivia showed the message to Daniel, a spark of excitement in her eyes. "What do you think?" Full circle moment. Daniel grinned. "Sounds like the perfect next chapter to me." The next week found Olivia in a community center, surrounded by a diverse group of individuals who had experienced homelessness. As she began her workshop, she couldn't help but think back to that fateful day with Frank, or rather, Daniel, in the park. "I used to think I knew what it meant to help people," Olivia began, her voice warm and sincere. "I thought making a flashy video of giving out food was enough. But true help, true influence, comes from empowering others with knowledge and skills." As she guided the group through the basics of identifying online scams, understanding privacy settings, and leveraging digital tools for job searches and education, Olivia felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This, she realized, was the kind of content creation that really mattered. After the workshop, Olivia set up her phone on a tripod. But unlike her old videos, there was no elaborate staging, no perfect lighting, no script. Just Olivia speaking directly to her followers, a much smaller but far more engaged audience than she had in her influencer days. "Hey everyone," she began, her tone conversational and authentic. "I just wrapped up an amazing workshop on digital literacy for individuals experiencing homelessness. I want to talk to you about why this matters and how we can all play a part in creating a more informed and empowered digital community." As she spoke, sharing insights from the workshop and challenging her viewers to think critically about their online behavior, Olivia felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had found her true calling, using her platform to educate, empower, and inspire genuine change. Later that night, as Olivia scrolled through the comments on her video, she was struck by the depth and thoughtfulness of the responses. People were sharing their own experiences, asking insightful questions, and pledging to spread digital literacy in their own communities. Her phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. "Saw your latest video. This is what real influence looks like. Live. You're changing lives." Olivia smiled, her heart full. They had been through so much public humiliation, a harrowing investigation, threats and challenges from powerful entities. But through it all, they had emerged stronger, wiser, and more committed than ever to their cause. As she drifted off to sleep, Olivia reflected on the incredible journey that had led her here. From a superficial influencer to a digital truth-teller, from seeking validation through likes to finding purpose in education and advocacy. She had redefined what it meant to be an influencer, and in doing so, had helped to reshape the digital landscape for the better. The battle for truth and transparency in the digital age was far from over, but Olivia Carter was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With every workshop, every video, every person she reached, she was helping to build a more informed, more critical, and ultimately more connected world. And that, she knew, was an influence worth having. So, if you haven't subscribed yet, click the subscribe button below and join our community. Based on your interests, we've picked this story for you that's showing on your screen right now. Click to watch it now. We're sure you'll love it. See you next time.